Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Board of Trustees Committee of the Whole, November 19th. Let the record reflect it is 6:44. Would you take the roll?
Trustee Muhammad?
Here.
Trustee Stubbs?
Here.
Trustee House?
Here.
Trustee Denton?
Present.
Trustee Pearson?
Here.
Trustee Henyard?
Present.
We have a quorum, 6 members of the council are here. If you could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, if you remain standing. Trustee Denton lead us in prayer tonight.
Let every head be bowed, eyes closed. Thank you, dear Lord, for this meeting that we are having tonight. Please be with us and guide us, lead us in the way that we should be. In Jesus Christ's name, amen.
Amen. Next thing on the agenda is general announcements. Any general announcements, Madam Clerk? Any announcements here?
Yes, I have two.
Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you guys for coming out this evening. One announcement I have is free tuition for ages 18 to 24 if you want to go in the healthcare field. A friend of mine, they got a grant that they applied for, and they're giving the money back to the community. I'm going to give you the information. Let me pull the flyer up. Okay. It states youth between the ages of 18 to 24 must have a high school diploma or GED, no criminal background, low income, of course, and must be able to pass a test at an 8th grade level. If you are interested or know someone that's interested, please call Rod Cheney. His phone number is 708-965-1699. Again, his number is 708-965-1699. Again, free tuition for youth ages 18 to 24. So please don't let the money go to waste. Please contact him if you are interested. My next announcement is to all the staff here in the village of Dolton. That includes the police department, the fire department, public works, housing, building, and water department. Now, please forgive me if I forgot a department, but tomorrow I am feeding everyone courtesy of Good Burger. You guys can stop at my location. I'm located at 15800 in South Harlan. 15800 State, I'm sorry, in South Harlan. Again, I'm feeding the staff here in the village of Dolton. That's all the departments. So any officer, firefighter, you're on duty. We are open tomorrow from 7 a.m. Well, we open at 8 a.m. until 3 p.m. Lunch, I am feeding you guys lunch from 11 until 2 p.m. So if you want lunch or if you guys are on a different shift, you can come in and eat breakfast. If you want, just let them know. I will be there between the hours of 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. Again, I'm feeding all the staff here in the village of Dolton. Please come inside the college. Again, South Suburban College is the location. If you need me, you can contact me at 708-297-6859. Again, the number 708-297-6859. And if possible, Chief Collins and Dyer, can you please send an email out to your staff so all the stations know y'all don't have to cook. Fire department, police department, y'all can come and eat with us. Again, Matt as well. End of my report. Thank you.
Okay, next.
Mayor, may I be recognized?
Go ahead.
I would just like to say good evening to everybody. Happy holiday, happy Thanksgiving, and may you have a safe one. And also, I would like to give condolence to Daryl over in the water department. His wife passed, and if you all can keep him uplifted in prayer. It's a trying time when your loved one passed, your spouse of many years. Also, I would like to ask everybody to keep the people at Mercy Hospital in prayer also. Thank you. That's the end, Mayor.
Okay. Order of business today for discussion only. Item number 1, results of the November 6, 2018 referendum. Trustee Henry.
Thank you again. I put this on the agenda because I have received a lot of phone calls in regards to the results of the election regarding the referendum in which the mayor put on the ballot. The results is as follows. I'm gonna break down each question to you, and then I'll just explain to you what the results was. The first question was to get rid of the primary here in the village of Dolton, which is held every February, and we would have had just a general election if you guys voted for it. You guys did not vote for it. It is still here in the village of Dolton, so we will have a primary. Just so y'all understand what you would have done if you got rid of the primary, you would no longer been able to choose from a Democrat or a Republican. It would have been a nonpartisan election, which means you will have to file as a independent or a party. Like, I'll give you an example, Concerned Citizens of Dolton. It could be two people in that party that was Republican and one could have been a Democrat. So you had to file as a party. But you guys showed up and voted, and you voted that down. So thank you, residents. I appreciate that. The second question was reducing the Board of Trustees from 6 to 4. What that entails is reducing your government, which you never want to do. You do need a body of 6 here in the village of Dolton because we hold over 23,000 residents here. If you would have reduced your Board of Trustees, what you did not know is that it would have affected myself and 2 other trustees which got elected in 2017. We got elected by you guys. So you would have basically removed us from office, basically like a recall, which the mayor tried to do 2 years ago to myself, Stan Brown, and Robert Hunt. So he tried to attempt again to remove us from office through this referendum, which you guys didn't understand the questioning. So it was kind of hard to explain to you guys what was going on. Everybody had different campaigns going on. But I just want y'all to know, thank you again for obtaining my seat. You showed up for me. I sent everything out, and you came and you voted to keep myself here on this board. So thank you again. The last question, is it? I don't even know how to word it. Let me see. You guys voted for this one. It was term limits. So basically, unfortunately, good trustees like myself will be termed out of office because I have 6 years and I had 2 more years left on my term. So my seat is up for re-election in 21. Again, you guys voted majority, about 68% of the community voted for term limits, which is popular throughout. I have no problem with that. Sometimes you have to move when you don't want to move. The only issue with that was I felt that it was only an attack on myself. No one else on this board have more years or time invested here in the village of Dolton, just trustee Tiffany Hinyard, who has 6 years. I am the youngest trustee, yet I am the elder. I am the senior trustee. So in order to get rid of me, you guys had to put, well, the mayor had to put up a question on the ballot to do so. So you guys voted for term limits, but what you did not understand with that is it only affected the trustees. Not the mayor, not the clerk. So you only termed out one body of government, but not the entire board. So I just wanted to explain to you guys kind of what happened, what passed, and what did not pass. The first 2 questions did not pass, but the last question did pass. That's only for term limits. So I just wanted to educate you guys so you kind of knew what you was voting for, and some that voted for it didn't understand. I got phone calls, so I do accept your apologies, but I still love y'all. I'm still going to advocate for the people, so appreciate it.
Okay. I want to respond to that, but the clerk would like to, Madam Clerk would like to respond first.
Yes, I'd just like to make one correction regarding the first item on the referendum regarding the nonpartisan elections. That did fail by 19 votes. But to correct you, trustee, nonpartisan elections is what it says, nonpartisan. So if that had passed, what that would have done is result in no one filing under any party, Democrat, Republican, not new party, and that's my point of correction. No new parties would not be allowed. It would have simply required candidates to file under their own names without a party designation.
I think that's kind of what I said, but it's no debate. I just want to make a statement. It's
Not
no
a debate,
argument up here.
just a correction that it would not have permitted anyone to file under any new party designation. In addition to Democrat or Republican, it would, by nonpartisan, by definition, it would eliminated anyone from being able to file under a party designation.
Exactly what I just said. Again, you cannot file as a Democrat or a Republican, so people would not know your affiliation when you go to the polls to vote. That's what I
Or
just said.
under a new party, as you did say.
Thank you.
In regards to number one, the nonpartisan elections, some of the residents had difficulty in regards to what was a nonpartisan election. There's only a few communities other than City of Chicago that has two elections, a primary and a general election. And sometimes when you have both elections, it's confusing to some of the residents that they may come out for the primary election and not realize they have to come back 8 weeks later for the general election. So they may vote in the primary election and or not vote in the general election or vice versa. So we wanted to take the pulse of the community to have one election. On the second question, I really think, this board has talked so much about the debt that we've been in. And I really think this was a good opportunity for the community to reduce the board and save the community up to and close to $500,000. It was done in Country Club Hills by referendum. There was 10 aldermen there. They reduced it from 10 to 5 by referendum and saved close to $1 million to the village, for the town. So I don't think there would have been any less opportunity if we had a reduced board than if we had 6 boards, other than the cost of it. Now, it is what it is, but we had a number of complaints in regards to judges telling people not to vote for the referendum. We had a number of complaints in regards to people saying that the referendum questions were not on the ballot. We had a number of complaints from people saying that they were given the wrong information. But that happens in elections. It is what it is. The numbers are there. So we move on. And that's all I got to say about the referendum. Next thing on the agenda is property tax levy. Trustee Muhammad.
Thank you, Mayor. If the board would pull up what Attorney Murphy sent to the clerk, who has distributed to all the board members, and I'll refer to that in my portion of this agenda. The village's tax levy is going to be more than a 5% increase over last year's. Therefore, the village has to have a truth and taxation hearing. And what I'm asking for a consensus tonight to work on that date. I propose we do it December 10th, because you need at least 20 days notice, and I'm sure the clerk is familiar that it has to also be published. If we do it on the 10th, we could do it between the December 10th and the 13th date, and that publication would have to happen between November 29th and 6th if it was done on the 13th. So I'm asking for a consensus tonight on having a hearing or a special meeting on December 10th at 5 p.m. here at the Village Hall. This has to be done before year's end. And everybody should have that. I had Attorney Murphy to send that out, so you should all have it. It's a 2-page piece. The second page is strictly the law that pertains to us passing this, because it's over that 5%. So I vote for it to be Monday, December 10th, 2018 at 5 p.m. if we can get a consensus for that.
I'm okay with the 10th.
What was the date?
10.
Yeah, it's December 10th, which is a Monday. How many do you need, clerk? At least 3 to 4?
Need 4. That was December 10th at what time, trustee?
Yes, Monday, December 10th, 5 p.m.
Thank you for the
That's
truth and
5 p.m.
taxation.
Yes, ma'am. If 5 p.m. is a challenge for someone, they could please voice that now.
I'm fine with that date.
Trustee, is it, okay, the 3rd is not enough time, is that why we're not doing it the day
Oh,
of
no,
the
it
board
can't be.
meeting?
You need 20 days' notice. That's why I had Murphy to please do it out in 4 talking points along with the law itself or the statute. We need at
And
least
what, would
20
that be a
days'
special board
notice.
meeting?
Yes,
That
it
would
will
be
be
a
a special
special
board meeting.
What
I'm in
time?
agreement.
That's
What
fine.
time?
5.
Well, if there's no questions, that's
It
all
works
I
for me.
have for the tax levy, unless there's a question.
I have a consensus from Trustee Muhammad, Trustee Stubbs, Trustee Denton, Trustee House, Trustee Pearson,
Yes, I'm in
Okay.
agreement.
Trustee Henyard.
Yes.
Okay, consensus from all the trustees for special board meeting for truth and taxation and passage of the tax levy on Monday, December 10th at 5 p.m.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, next thing on the agenda is Finance Department interim measures. Trustee Muhammad.
Yes, if you don't mind, Mayor, I'd like to combine 3 and 4 because they are related. Finance Department interim measures, Trustee House submitted a email I would like him to expound on because, as you all know, we have lost our finance manager, Ms. Yvonne Redmond, but she will be working in the capacity of a part-time person. I believe it's about 10 hours per week. And Trustee House came up with some type of preliminary suggestion that we can solve this problem with the help of the Kasperi Group. Trustee House, if you could take that portion over.
Okay, keeping in mind the finance director is a position that is appointed by the mayor, so the recommendations we are temporary solutions as we seek the proper person, and I'm sure we'll get a qualified person for the position. In the interim, our finance director has been generous enough that she will continue to work in a part-time capacity through December, in which time she will continue doing her daily operations and gradually through the month of December transition the essential roles of her position to the Kasperi Group, who is an accounting firm that is very knowledgeable of the village of Dolton and how we operate day to day. So she will transition 1 week accounts payable, the next week accounts receivable, third week would be payroll, and by the end of December, all items will be transferred to the Kasperi Group, and they will stand ready until the time that a new finance director is appointed to fulfill those responsibilities and train the new director.
I believe one of the concerns of the mayor was the expense of the Kasperi Group, so we would have to really, and I think, address them on what their package or their contract would be for that period until a finance manager or director is hired. And I noticed you said appointment by mayor, but that's true, but it's also appointment by the mayor with advice and consent of the board. So I don't know if you want to chime in, Mayor, concerning your concern about the expense and maybe some suggestion how we can approach the Kasperi of a number that we can deal with as far as maybe hours or flat rate per month. And
But I think you and Trustee House has had some extensive discussion with the Kasperi Group, and I've asked them to kind of monitor the billing until we, and I think until we and after we bring on a finance director, they would assist us. But I just think that we need to stay in contact with them and kind of watch the billing. Not just them, but any other outsourced services.
okay, well, if you don't mind, myself and Trustee House will approach them and have them put together a proposal for the next few months and see what their cost is, and we can negotiate from that point
Okay, that's fine.
and submit it to the board. Okay? Was that it on the finance? Anything else? Okay. The next one, Mayor, this is to you, the status of the search for the human resource generalist. I got an informal happenstance on where we at. If you would inform the board and the public where we are as far as the search for the human resource generalist.
Well, the board elected to eliminate the position of human resource director, and so I actually had discussion with our human resource director, former human resource director, and she was willing to accept the position of human resource generalist. It was I think a $35,000 salary reduction for her to accept that position, but it would leave no gaps in place for the things that she have done, and I thought that was an easy selection to put her in that position.
And again,
So formally, right now, our former human resource director that was that position eliminated by the board is now our human resource generalist.
and what date did you hire, Mayor?
I don't recall the date.
Was it, what month? Do you know what month she was hired?
Was it this month? Last month. Janice? On Angela Blacher. What month did she take? October? Okay, October.
Okay, again, and it's true, it's the appointment by the mayor, but it's with advice and consent of the board. And one of the reasons for advice and consent that I've done some research on, one of the main reasons is that it's for the protection actually of its residents or its persons living in Dolton, so that a person hired is not there for political reasons, personal reasons, and it should go by the board. And I believe, as being a trustee here, I think it's only twice, and there are some who've been on here longer than me, that the only time I involved myself as a trustee and others was the hiring of Chief Collins, which was one of the best hires that, in my opinion, that this village has ever made. And the other time, that the only time trustees had any type of input of advice and consent, I believe it was for not human resources, but for public works. But it does still stand, Mayor, that it is with advice and consent, and we found out about the hire is through rumor and innuendo, and it would be better, it would serve us all if it was official, if it came up by the board, and the board had some input in it, and that's the whole point of advice and consent. It's a check and balance, and it's the fairest way to do it, and it's the most democratic way to do it. So I don't think unilaterally hiring an individual without input and meaning lawful dialogue with the board is acceptable. It should be, again, with advice and consent. As far as our human resources generalist is concerned, as far as a finance manager is concerned, as far as any type of manager that heads a department, the ordinance or the statute states it is with advice and consent of the board, even though it is the mayor's appointment. Could you respond to that, Mayor?
Yeah, it's my appointment, and I had discussion with legal counsel. I can temporarily appoint on a 30-day basis. If you recall, you approved Ms. Angela Blacher as Human Resource Director, so you want to approve her again just because she was eliminated out of her, eliminated out of the budget?
You want me to answer that, Mayor?
Go ahead.
Okay, first of all, I prefer that we don't use the individual's names. I'll just talk about a position because employees do not like, and I've been told that they don't like when their names are bandied about because it becomes political. Let's just keep it to the position. I'd rather not use the individual's name because it's not about the individual. I'm talking about a principle right now. It's advice and consent of the board, and the board had no input, and some people on this board may not even know that she's been hired. No one got any kind of feedback from you or anyone else that she was hired. And all I'm asking you, Mayor, is that it is with advice and consent of the board for all department heads. And maybe I'm in error of understanding that law. Is that how I understand it to be?
Well, you're advised now.
Okay.
Okay, she's
real
been
funny.
appointed. She's appointed as a generalist.
And that's how you want to do it? You want to say you tell us after she's been hired since October and we're going into December?
You know, there's no secrets around here. You know that she was put in that position.
Okay, but Mayor, that's
you
not
want
the way we do it. As I stated, the best example I gave was the chief of police, where we had a company that outsourced that we used. I think it cost us, Trustee Pearson, I think you were here at the time. We paid about $20,000.
No, $12,000.
$12,000
Yes.
to search throughout the country for someone qualified. And I think our current chief was head above all the others, and we all had input in interviewing him. As a matter of fact, I remember I was the first one to interview Chief Collins. I remember as though it was this morning. And it worked out great. You had trustees that interviewed him and got some feedback, and you listened to it, and we discussed it, and he's hired, and like I said, that's one of the best hires that we've ever had. But you have unilaterally, not only with the human resources generalist. You've done it in the water department. You've done it in other departments where you've hired persons, and then it goes beyond what we have budgeted for in many cases. So I don't think it's right for you to unilaterally hire someone and then say on the meeting of a COW meeting, well, you've been advised now. That's just not the way it should be done.
You're entitled to your opinion.
That's not an opinion, sir. That's the law. It's by advice and consent.
I'm not going to go back and forth with you on this. The next thing on the agenda is tree trimming, cutting list.
No, it's
Trustee
not.
Hendrick.
That's not the next thing.
Don't tell me it's not.
It's not the next thing on the agenda. The next thing on the agenda is the hiring of a freelance videographer. That's the next thing on the agenda. Can I continue?
Go ahead and continue.
Thank you. Okay, a suggestion for a videographer, and that'll be a 1099 position. The suggestion was to be able to hire at least one individual. Therefore, we won't be beholden to one person. As a former media person, I know at one time we had 2 videographers because we have a video department right now that is shut down. There's a system called Lightronics that runs the programming for the cable access channel. And for those persons looking at it tonight, which I don't think they're seeing it because we've lost our signal, so hopefully when it comes on later, for the information for everybody, because I was asked by residents, why is Channel 4 and 99 shut down? It does not have to be shut down. It can be programmed just like you did your old VCRs, just like you do your DVRs. You can program them for a month, you can program it for a year, you can program them for years. I'm very familiar with the system, but it's not my job to do that. I'm saying my suggestion is we get more than one videographer hired as a freelancer. For example, if we're not recording a meeting, we should have access to the panel, at least turn on the sound so that people can hear the sound. Because if you all remember at the old Village Hall, the way it was done, any trustee could just hit a switch and turn the mics on. So my suggestion, and we don't have to get a consensus tonight, is that in the hiring of a freelance videographer, which would cover all of the events, that we do more than one videographer, that we're not beholden or dependent upon just one individual. Any input from the board?
On the videographer, I think that my preference would be to go with the former media director that we've had. I think he's got great accolades. He's a Dolton resident and has done a wonderful service for the community, so that would be my preference.
I agree 100%, but again, he's one person. And as you can see tonight, the times that that individual cannot be here, there are other persons who can come in their stead. There are times when things have to be videoed for the village that you can have more than one person. So again, that's not to step over the individual that you named, but to have more than one as we had in the past so that we're not beholden to one particular videographer.
Any further comment? Next thing on the agenda is tree trimming, cutting list. Trustee Hendrick.
Thank you. Okay. I placed this on the agenda for the simple fact I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I talk about this for the last 6 years being on this board about tree trimming or cutting down someone's tree. I get a ton of calls about it, and I told you guys before, I used to be called the tree lady because I got so many complaints about the trees, and I'm the only one that really kind of speaks on it. So I'm asking Mayor, what is going on with cutting down residents' trees or trimming their trees? I stopped in to Public Works to see Matt Stacy. Matt was not there on Friday. Emailed him, no response. Monday came, no response. Tuesday came, still no response. So my question to you is, what is going on with that? Because I think the next day after that, he emailed me and told me I had to refer to you for a tree list that I don't see why I have to talk to you for if I'm talking directly to the department head. We are all elected officials. We all have the same power, and anybody should be able to ask any department head for things that they need. Now, I'm only coming into his department because I was asked by a resident, where do they stand on the tree list? That I don't think exists. I think y'all just tell the residents that, but where is it?
Well, I had much discussion with our superintendent. Well, he's not the superintendent anymore. That was manager. In regards to tree lists, I've had people coming to me and said, Mayor, I've been on tree lists for 9 years. I've been on tree lists for 7 years. I don't know where this tree list exists, but what I'd like to do is, if there is a complaint about a tree, they would call the mayor's office, and we would go out and assess the tree, because there's some people that want the trees cut down for cosmetic reasons, not because it's diseased or overgrown or anything. I just like to have more sun. A lot of these trees are so huge, we do not have the manpower and or the equipment to cut these trees down. And you know, some of these trees, and trees are cut down by tree services, usually by the diameter of the tree and the height of the tree. Some of these trees could cost as much as $7,000 to $8,000, $10,000 to cut down. So anything that we can do, we do it. The smaller trees, the tree trimming, things like that. But we get a number of calls for tree trimming, and a lot of it is because of cosmetic. You know, they want this tree limb cut off because it goes over the street or it's over their house. But when it goes over their house and there's a safety danger, we try to remove that danger. Now, when I first came into office 5.5 years ago, one of the first things I wanted to do was start trimming trees, because when we had storms, we spent a lot more overtime by calling public works out to clean up the dead branches that was in the street, and we don't have that. We don't have those many calls anymore in regards to some of the severe storms we've had in the last 5 years, because we've trimmed a lot of trees and cut a lot of dead branches off. So what I like to do is not really create a list, but as the calls come in, I like to direct those people that have complaints about the trees to call my office, and then whether it's myself and or a public works manager, sometimes I call our third party person that we've been outsourcing tree trimming to come out and make an assessment, and it's at no cost, and they make an assessment whether it needs to be cut down, trimmed, or whatever, modified, the tree being modified. But one of the things that we had the arboretum out here that has on a yearly basis given us free trees to plant trees, because what it does is it really helps with the flooding in the community. Those trees drink up a lot of water, and their suggestion, and our outsourced person suggests that we do not cut down trees if they're lively and healthy and just need trimming. So from this day, I don't know what happened in the past in regards to tree trimming lists, and like I said before, people have said to me, I've been on the list for 7, 8 years, whatever. I've never seen that list. So, and you have to remember now, this board cut the budget on tree trimming. I'm not sure how much I think we've spent $75,000 in the past. We could, to be honest with you, all the trees that we have here, we could spend $150,000. These trees are huge. So we cut down as many as we can, and I'm going to be very frank with you, that budget needs to be extended to get some of these trees that cut down. Trustee.
Mayor, I just want to make sure I got this right. I know you didn't just say you don't know nothing about no tree list. I know you didn't just say that. Is that what you just said to me?
That's exactly what I said.
Mayor, now I'm going to pull the tape up and I'm going to play it at the next board meeting.
Okay.
We went back and forth, I don't know if it was a year ago, 2 years ago, about a tree list that you and Matt, I guess, put together, or whoever put it together, and you submitted it to this board of trustees about a tree list that exists.
Okay.
And since then, 2 years prior, we've been telling residents they have a tree list that you basically saying does not exist. So what I'm saying to you is that you're just telling residents what they want to hear, but yet we don't have a tree list all of a sudden. So
Well,
they've been on a tree list 9 years. That's terrible. That's pathetic. If that's what you're telling me, first
okay,
of
that's
all.
before my time.
Mayor, no. Me and you both got 5.5 years, 6 years here in the village of Dolton. And I've been complaining left and right about a tree list for residents. That's all I ever talk about. Because when I door knock, just like you door knock, and anybody up here that's door knocking now, that's the #1 complaint. Cutting down
I
trees,
disagree
trimming
with you.
trees.
I disagree
No.
with
You guys, any trustee up here, I don't gotta make that up. Residents are here.
I disagree
Everybody
with you.
care about those trees. But you're telling me that you don't have a tree list now? I got a problem with that.
Do you have the
Because
tree list? You said
don't
if I
have
submitted- if you
I
said
don't
if-
have a tree list because
It's-
I came, hold on. I came to Public Works to get the tree list that y'all told the residents that they was on. 2 residents called me and said, Trustee Henyard, where am I on this tree list? I said, you know what? I'm gonna go up there myself and find out where you was on this list. When I went up there, the ladies could not provide me with a list. They then told me that they need to call their boss, which is Matt. I said, call him. I even called him. Matt did not pick up for me or them. I emailed Matt to basically rectify the situation, and again, no response. And then I guess 2-3 days later, after he talked to you, you guys sent me an email stating I need to talk to the mayor. And then in my response was, I'm not gonna play these games with y'all. I want my tree list. That's what I emailed y'all back. And to this day, I still don't have a tree list.
Okay.
That's my issue, Mayor.
Okay, that's fine. You started out by saying a year and a half ago, I've provided this board with a tree list.
You
Okay,
did. We
okay,
did at a board meeting, yes.
Okay, if I did, where is it at? If I gave it to you?
That's my question.
If I
So-
gave it to you,
Oh,
where's your
don't
copy?
worry about it. I'm gonna bring it. I didn't know I had to
Okay,
bring a tree
okay.
list to the board meeting that
Okay.
I asked for an
Okay.
update. So
Okay.
if you guys not doing your jobs by updating the residents on where they need to be on this so-called allegedly tree list that do not exist, I don't like you guys lying to the residents. That's what I'm tired of.
Right, well,
Because
if
when we
this-
get the complaints, hold on, Mayor. When we get the complaints, I bring it to the board. I bring it to the body. And then I try to rectify it before we get here to a board meeting, and it still don't get rectified. So now I have to sit here and do this. So then the residents think we're bickering. But I'm tired because I got to put it on blast because you're not doing what I'm asking, which is provide me with a tree list so I can tell a resident what they was on this list that you just said. Most people saying they've been on 9 years. That's terrible. That's pathetic if our community not doing our job. Secondly, I don't appreciate you saying they need to call your office to get a tree down. We have Public Works. We have a superintendent/manager, whatever he is now. He's supposed to do his job. When they call there, he's supposed to sit here and come out, assess the situation, and cut the tree down. You don't supposed to get in the middle of their duties. That's his job.
Well, one of the problems is that you said they're not doing efficient duty, so if we direct it to my office, we can monitor it.
Mayor, if someone's not doing their job, what do you supposed to do? You have a business. I have a business. You discipline the
I can tell
employee.
you.
You don't sit here and take over it. Or you find somebody that's going to do what we're asking. That's what I'm saying. All I want is the residence tree cut down. That's it. That's all I'm asking for. And another thing that I emailed everybody was, I feel bad about this one resident that called me, and I've been asking for the last 3 years for her tree to be cut down. This lady tripped and fell. She 83 years old, and this is my problem once again with the trees. Her tree lifted the sidewalk, so when she came up to go into her home, she fell, broke a hip. So when I got that complaint, how you think I feel? That's why I put this on this agenda. Because again, she been complaining and complaining and complaining. I then went again and tried to tell Matt. He told me he was gonna take care of it. And this was prior to last week. Still nothing. Tree's still there. So my question to you, Mayor, is what's the plan? What's the plan going forward?
I just told you the plan.
No. I don't like that plan. So I'm in disagreement with that plan.
Just because you don't like it don't mean it's not going to go into effect. And let me tell you something. You know how long it takes to cut a tree down? And you know how many people that we have
That's
with...
no excuse.
Do you know how many people we have that has experience in cutting trees?
Mayor, it's no excuse. That means we need to put a plan together. That means that Matt should sit down with the board. Sit down with the board. No, you put your plan together. I said we need to put a plan together. That means Matt need to sit down with the board, and we need to come up with a plan that the whole body agrees on. That's what I'm saying to you. You are just saying that for yourself because you did that during election time. If a person gave you a complaint when we was running, you said you're going to take care of the next day. What's any different now?
Why
when
don't-
a person give a complaint now,
You
man,
know
hold
how
on.
many
If a
people we
person
have-
give a complaint now, why are you not saying you're going to take care of the next day like you were saying on election day?
Do you know...
That's my issue,
You know how
man.
many people that we have experience to cut trees?
It's not about experience
What do
with
you mean
trees.
it's not that?
It's not.
We just had
Then
a
why do
person
we have
killed.
Public Works?
We just had a person
Mayor,
killed
why
to
do
cut
we
the
have
tree
Public
down.
Works? There you go deflecting. Why do we have a person in Public Works? We got
I'm not gonna go back and forth with you, Trustee Henry.
We
I'm
got
not gonna go
18,
back and forth with
17
you.
people, Mayor.
Okay, finish
that run,
what you
that's
gotta
in
say.
Okay, I am. I'm trying to, but you keep interrupting me. Thank you. We have enough people in Public Works to do their job. I'm pretty sure that if Matt put together a plan and executed the right way, I think it will be fine, but he does not. You guys do too much favoritism here. That is my issue, Mayor. I need, when a resident calls, you take care of their problem. They pay taxes here. They shouldn't have to get favoritism because of who they know. If they call anyone else on the board and anybody calls Matt, it should get taken care of, period. Point blank. It shouldn't be on a list for a year or 2 years. That's terrible. I would even want to make that statement that a person keeps complaining about 9 years about a tree. I will move. You're supposed to get services. I'm pretty sure they ain't got them problems in South Holland. I'm pretty sure that
Yeah,
they got a
okay.
problem
Yeah,
and they go
okay.
take care of it. That's why people
Okay.
move to community
Right.
because of services.
Yeah, okay.
But we're not giving the right service, Mayor.
Yeah.
Then why come here? Over a tree. Look what we're talking about. A tree.
Right. Why'd you cut the budget on the tree?
I
on
never
cutting
cut
trees?
the budget on
Who
the
cut
tree.
it? Who cut it?
But let's go back to what I'm
cut
saying,
it?
because there you go
I'm not gonna
deflecting.
go back and forth
It's
with you
not
on
about
this.
going back and forth.
Finish
This
what
is
you gotta
discussion,
say.
Mayor. I am saying what I'm saying,
Okay.
but you keep saying that, and I'm saying what I'm saying. Basically, I want the resident tree cut. We got a big issue in Dolton about tree trimming.
That's not true.
That is true.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not making this up. When I
we've
talk,
cut.
everybody know I ain't making it up. You know I'm gonna state
Okay.
facts when I'm up here. I always do. The problem is
Right.
we don't have no good management here in the village of Dolton. But
Okay.
yet we want to raise everything on the residents. I have a problem with that. We have to stop. We need to fix in-house first. That's what we need to do, and we're not doing that. You study going around with all this other stuff instead of saying, okay, trustee, let's sit down, let's come up with a plan, and let's fix it. You're not saying that to me. You're just saying, no, direct them to the mayor's office. No, Mayor, what is the plan that Public Works should be doing every day? We don't even get that from Matt. Where is that?
You done?
May I be
You gonna
recognized,
respond?
Mayor?
Are you going to respond, Mayor?
I just tried to tell you how we're gonna handle it. You don't
Okay, but
agree
if I'm
with it,
saying
that's
I
fine.
disagree with
You're
handling
entitled
that
to your
way.
opinion. Go ahead,
Right.
Trustee Muhammad.
But if I'm saying I'm not going to agree with that, why can't you say, okay, trustee, let's sit down and come up with a plan? What is wrong with that? That's what I'm saying. It's just your way or the highway. Why can't you say, okay, trustee, I hear you loud and clear. Let's come up with a better plan than the one I just said. What's wrong with that, Mayor?
Trustee Muhammad.
Okay.
Right.
Dovetailing on Trustee Henyard, there was a list that was printed. I believe I came in 2015 or 2016 was a list that was printed from Public Works that was given to all the trustees at a board meeting.
Yep.
It was called the tree list. Some were being cut, some were being trimmed, some had not gotten to yet. And I know myself personally that whenever I've text Mr. Stacy, he would respond quickly. I'll get on it, trustee, and then when I follow up on it, I would be referred to your office, Mayor, on more than one occasion. And I saved those photographs, I saved those texts for a day like today, because a trustee, when they're called by a resident and they want a tree not cut, but trimmed, because we know cutting is more expensive than trimming, because you did make a statement that the budget needs to be extended to cut down trees. To make a statement like that, you don't understand this budget. We don't have money to extend to cut trees when we just had a meeting a few days ago concerning the judgment against us for the city of Chicago. So we can't extend monies to cut trees down. But what we're asking as trustees, when residents come to us and we approach Public Works and they say they're going to do it, and when we follow up on it and they bring it to you, they say it's been referred to the mayor's office. And as you know, and I'll pull the emails up for you, I've emailed your office and said, Mayor, could you please tell us what the status of this is? And to this date, November 19th, you have yet to answer any one of my emails to you. And I made sure that when I sent it to you, the last ones, I also blind CC'd every trustee on this board so they know what I'm talking about. So I agree with Trustee Henyard about the list. There was a list printed. Number two, when we follow up on this list or something being trimmed or cut, it's referred to your office, but you don't respond. But as far as extending that budget to cut some trees down, that's not going to happen because we just don't have the money.
And that's fine. So those trees will not get cut down.
Has nothing to do with trimming the trees. We have Public Works that can trim trees,
They
Mayor.
cannot trim all the trees.
We're not asking to trim all the trees. When a resident have a concern, again, I'll say it, when we bring it to Public Works and Public Works gives it to you, if those trustees are not in your favor, they will not get trimmed.
That's not true.
And I have them in my phone, and I'm
That's
sure
not-
there are
that's
other
not true.
trustees on this board
That's
that
not
concur
true.
with that.
That's not true. Okay.
Okay, well, for the record, Mary Kay, I'm asking the board to support me and moving forward with a plan for cutting trees here in the village of Dolton and doing tree trimming. Matt, we would like to sit with you whenever you're available. If you can give us a date, that would be nice. I could sit with you and another trustee. We could do 2 at a time and come up with a great plan so that the residents don't have to keep complaining every year about trimming a tree or cutting a tree down. Do you have any dates that you're available, Matt? Okay, just give me a date and a time. We can schedule it right now.
Not only that, the same truck and same public works workers also repair the street lights.
Okay.
So they're repairing street lights and they're also trimming trees with one truck, and it's usually what, 2 workers, Matt, Kelly, and Mr. Bunch.
Okay, Mayor, before I was cut off, Matt, what was the date and time that you would like to meet with myself and another trustee? Okay, so
I'd like to be part of that meeting.
I don't mind anybody being part of the meeting. If we can meet here, that's fine.
Well,
I
you know-
just want some clarity on
You know
cutting
what?
the trees down.
What I would suggest to you also, Trustee Henry, is when they go out to trim a tree and or cut a tree down, you go with them.
Mayor, I know the process. I know what's going
and
on.
you see how long it takes.
It's
you see,
still no
you see
excuse
how
for
long it.
why somebody years on a list. You cannot sell me that. You can't.
Well, I'm not.
So I'm saying that we need some kind of order. We don't have order with that. As you can see, you just said the list is gone. Where's the list?
When you request a tree, I've seen some emails to Matt, and you say, Matt, get on this, or like cut this down, cut this tree down. They plan their work schedule. The superintendent, the supervisor, and the manager
where's the plan?
plan their work schedule on a daily basis, usually in regards to urgency. One of the things, sometimes when I'm out at night, I carry a pad with me and I write down the street lights that are out. And then the following morning, I call Matt. I said, Matt, these lights are out. Because in some cases, it creates a safety hazard. And that usually takes priority over a lot of other things, unless it's a water main break and stuff like that. So,
So Mayor, why is
Go
it
ahead.
that they don't have a list of things they do every day as far as giving it to the board? For instance, like you just said, if it's an emergency, they'll do a light.
they don't
So-
give a list to the board every day.
No, I'm
how-
asking you. Hold on, let me get it out. Why can't Matt say, okay, we cut down 2 trees today, and then tomorrow they gonna trim 4 trees? Where's that list? So
See,
you can say what the order is or what's
what
going
you
on.
keep saying is that they can't cut trees down on a daily basis.
No, that's an
Because
example.
with
I'm
the-
not saying necessarily they got to do it on a daily basis, but I'm saying where's that plan? There's no plan. That's my issue. There's
Mayor,
no
can I be
plan in
recognized?
place.
Go ahead, Trustee House.
I think two suggestions. One, I would think maybe we want to have this as part of a committee meeting, so that way everybody that's interested can be a part of the meeting. And I think the second part would be, I think a big thing on there is the communication for when things can or cannot be done, because I think it will help. And I'll just say me, a lot of times when I do communicate with superintendent, manager, Matt Stacy, he gets back to me and he'll say, this is how long it's going to take. So that way we even if we're unable to do it, we can at least let the person know, so that way they have an idea, or they're not expecting something that's not going to come. So I think that will be the point, that if the board is in agreement, we could put it into a committee meeting and we could talk about if it can be done, and then and what the communication could look like.
Well, at least he responded to you. He don't respond to none of us.
Mayor, may I be recognized?
Go ahead.
Because we can put it in a committee meeting, and I can have one next Thursday at 6 o'clock, because I want the residents here,
You can do that.
for the record.
But go ahead.
Excuse me. And also, when the monthly reports are given and the manager, Matt Stacy, give the report like last month or early part this month, I asked him to read that report. Because when you give me all the information on a Thursday of places that you have cut down trees, fixed water main breaks, repaired B-boxes, repaired street lights, I always ask on numerous of occasions to please email me the addresses, because I would like to go by to see some of the work that you have done, that you provide me for with the list, as opposed to just reading off what you have given me. And that was just like 5-star when we received that bill and we went around and looked at work that had not been done. You can tell me anything, but if I can go by and view it for myself, then I don't mind doing that. And I asked again for the record, along with the report, give me the addresses of all the work that you have done on the report. Give me the addresses. Notwithstanding, it was told to a resident this week that the trustees would not okay the money for the lady that Miss Scott on Dorchester, where her sidewalk is buckling because of trees or whatever else that have caused it, and she's in a wheelchair, and it's very, very hard for her to get out of her house. I've asked Matt Stacy, the manager, on numerous occasions to please take care of that. It have not been done. I've also went to Janice and asked her, could she also call Matt, put that on the list, that still not have been done. I was told by a resident, again, that the trustees would not okay that. Allegedly, I wasn't there. You know, I'm just telling you what the resident said, that the manager stated that the trustees wouldn't pay for it, and that's an untruth. Thank you, Mayor. That's all I have.
Well, I want to say, you made a comment in regards to the concrete work being done. You know, some of those places that that was on the list, and that the concrete company was asking for payment up front because we hadn't paid them, or it was a long time paying them, are not being repaired, and they probably won't get repaired now because the winter's coming. But there was a couple of locations that was serious that needed to be repaired, and they're still out there right now. So what do? Okay, when we got a problem with some of those areas where the sidewalks is raised. I went by one the other day. It's raised like about 10 inches. Are we going to pay for it, or we're not going to pay for it?
Mayor, there are other concrete companies also, not just that particular one, that once they do the work, then they expect to be paid. Not to be paid up front.
Well,
And the work wasn't done. There are other companies other than 5-star.
yeah, but we've asked for bids. They came in at the lowest on the bids. People know, and these concrete companies talk, and they say, you know.
Can we
so
see copies of that?
What bid?
We have a very, very limited source of vendors that we can use, because they know how we pay our bills.
Nah, I disagree with you.
Okay?
Can
Find 'em.
we see the bids? Are we privileged to that information on seeing the bids?
Public information.
Do we have?
bids are-
I don't have them.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Matt, you want to say something?
Yes, sir. With that concrete issue going on, you guys, I'm sorry, the trustees went out and looked at
It's all right.
the trustees had went out and gone to job sites to look at the repairs. The reason that they went there and the jobs weren't completed yet was because the contractor didn't do them. No trustee came to me and asked me what was going on with the job sites. Why are we writing checks for jobs that aren't done? The reason we did this was last year, the board held this contractor's check for so long, he said this is going to be COD. Myself and John finally talked to the contractor. He's been the lowest bidding contractor on some of the jobs that we've put out there. And what we did was we would submit his bills to Yvonne. Yvonne would process them, get them approved, and she would hold the check until the job was completed. As soon as we let him know the job was complete, or we had the check that finance was holding on to it, then he completed the job, he got paid. Again, just last week, we had a company that comes out and deals with our snow plows. We take them to them whenever it's something bigger than what our mechanics can handle. It took so long for the board to vote on the bills. I don't know if it was something dealing with Yvonne, but it took so long. He said, don't bring your trucks back here again. He says, I don't know what you guys have going on over there. He said, I'm not a bank. I'm not holding your truck until I get the check. That went on for 3 months. I kept calling Yvonne, talking to her. I don't know what happened between her and sending them through to the trustees, but again, we lost another vendor because of the bills being delayed on being paid. Nobody has come to me, nobody has ever talked to me about any issues going on with contractors, vendors, anything. So I'm trying to do the best that I can for the residents of this town with what I have to work with.
Mayor, can I be recognized?
Go ahead.
Okay, let me address that 5-star because Mr. Stacy made 2 statements concerning COD and this last job it was over $50,000, by the way. It is against the law for us to pay a vendor in front for work that's not done. Myself and Trustee Pearson went out and took those invoices and looked at every location.
What law is that? What law is that?
Can I finish, please? Thank you. Trustee Pearson and I, on a Saturday, went to every one of those locations. The only work that was done pretty much was and Trustee Pearson's memory is probably better than mine, it was around the Aperion and a few residential areas. But on the western side of Dolton, those properties had not been done. We cannot pay a vendor on the front end and then say a $50,000 bill, which was to our attention $50,000 because we just didn't have it. The work that they did, when we looked at it, the board approved it and they were paid.
How long though?
It was a matter of weeks, maybe 2-3 weeks.
No.
Let me finish, Mayor. I got another one for you. One of your donors, I think it's called Liquor City, located.
Go ahead so I can correct you.
Liquor City, located on Chicago Road, and they're next to MB Bank. And the reason why we held that up because they were asking for full payment, but yet if you look on the invoices, and all of us have them, it said there was a 50-50 program or something to that effect where they were supposed to have paid half. We said once they pay half of their share, then the board will vote to pay the other half, which is what we did. The minute they paid their half, and this is the same company, 5-star, I believe, 5-star cement company, then we paid it. But it wasn't months and months that those bills were languishing.
That's
the
not
minute
true.
that we get them from the clerk, she gets a consensus from the board, and if she gets at least, I believe it's 4 votes, then it's paid. I don't know anything about months and months that went by on those 2 particular instances.
And you had, you say you're not doing anything political, but you didn't talk about my political donor. My donor.
They're on your D2s.
It's my donor. Fine, it's on my D2,
Then that's
right.
your donor.
But you know
D2 is
what?
your donor,
That's
sir.
fine. But they did not have to pay 50-50 on that.
They weren't supposed to
asked
pay it
them.
at all.
It was a city sidewalk. It was irregular. I mean, it was a highly traveled area that people went to the bus stop, and I asked them to, at least would they pay 50% of it. It wasn't a 50-50 program, and they agreed to pay 50% of it because of the cost of it and the length of the project. They were generous enough to pay 50-50. If you we had pictures of that, how badly it was decomposed and a hazard for people walking. That's why it was done.
Well, I would like to see those pictures if you don't mind, Mayor.
Matt, do you
because
still have them?
I took pictures of them also, and a lot of that
Yeah,
was
after it was finished.
private property.
Parking
It
lot.
was not
That
private
it-
property.
Mayor, I'll show you my pictures. You show me yours.
You can show them, but it wasn't. It's
Okay.
not private property.
Okay, I'm not
It's
going
part
to
of the
argue
regular
with you
sidewalk.
today. But thank you.
Point of order, Mayor, could I be recognized?
Well, go ahead, trustee.
I just want to add, all of this started because we're talking about trees, and you came up with your idea of call the mayor. That's really not fair, only because it won't be a list maintained.
Trustee, we passed the tree project, okay? We
But
passed the tree.
that's what this got, Mayor, this
And
became.
belaboring this is not
Mayor,
going to get it any better.
Could I finish?
Okay?
I just got a little bit more to go. We should have a tree list. Even if we call you, and I would advise all the trustees, and when you send that email to the mayor, just we can get together amongst ourselves and create a list of what we're sending to the mayor, and we keep a check on it so that we'll know how long that list is and how many trees are being cut on that list. So I don't have a problem with sending it to you, Mayor. I'm just going to keep my own records, and we can compile a list ourselves. We don't need the mayor to compile a list for us, and we can keep up with it, and we can talk about it at board meetings to let the residents know how it's going or where they are on that list.
How are you going to handle the trees that Public Works cannot handle? How are you going to do that? Do you tell the customer, you tell the residents that, hey, we can't cut it down because we don't have the money? How you want to handle that?
Mayor, if those issues are brought to this board can deal with those issues. They're never brought to the board. The board don't know what kind of money they got to spend.
Let me tell you
can't
this.
hold us responsible for the money if it's going to be spent without advice of the board.
Trustee, let me tell you something. Over probably 75%, 80% of these trees in the village are close to anywhere between, on the low end, 50 years old to 100 years old. We do not have the equipment and or the expertise in our Public Works Department to handle those trees. A lot of those trees that need trimming is because they're that old and they're overhanging on houses and things like that. In some cases, we can't handle that. How do we, with this board reducing the amount of the budget that was in the budget for trimming trees, what do we tell the residents?
So, Mayor, then why tell the resident that they're on the list if we can't handle what you're saying? Why send them off like that? Why give them false hope? If we're not gonna cut their tree down, why you just don't say, well, we can't cut it down, we can't afford it at the time?
You
Why
just
tell
heard
them
a
they're on the
trustee
list?
said. You just heard a trustee said someone was told that we couldn't fix the sidewalk because we had the money, and the concrete budget was cut also. We've repaired a number of sidewalks that was just repaired because of the hazard that they create.
Not the lady that fell.
Well-
Been like that 2 years.
Well, I apologize that if that was the cause for injury and stuff like that, but we've repaired a number of sidewalks that were highly elevated that created hazards, and there's a number out there that still need. I know I just visited one yesterday. You know, it's 8 inches higher than over the land.
So
And
why
I want
don't-
to submit it to this board and see if they take care of it. But the thing about that, they've been out there so long, and a lot of times it takes a long time for this board to approve anything and get things done. What do you mean it's not true? Look how long from the time that you refused to pay the concrete guy to the time that you decided to take out the ones that were already done and pay him. It was months.
Mayor, it wasn't months.
How long was it? How long was it?
Check your email, because I've also emailed you.
How long was
You
it?
don't never respond to your email.
Yeah.
So check your email.
I can show you some of the emails that I got where I get almost threatened. I mean,
Nobody threatened you.
it's like it would behoove you to do this. You know, come
That one
on.
didn't come from me.
I got him. I can show you too. Don't
Mayor,
send me nothing talking about
behoove
it
is
would
not
behoove
threatening.
me. Yeah. Okay, next thing on the agenda is construction of speed bumps.
Mayor, can I get my date with Matt? That's all I ask.
Well, why don't you get with Matt after the meeting? Let him look at his calendar. Get with him after the meeting, and you set up a date.
Wait, he looked at it obviously because he told me 7 to 3.
Okay,
so,
we ain't going back and forth. Next thing on the agenda is construction of speed bumps.
Can you get back at me with that date, please? Thank you.
Construction of speed bumps. I've asked this board probably 5 years ago, I think it was 4 or 5 years ago, to construct some speed bumps throughout the village. in regards to where community residents have come to me and said, Mayor, even with some of the streets that we have improved, like Dorchester, the speed has picked up on Dorchester tremendously after we repaved it. The board refused or voted against putting down speed bumps.
No, sir, not true. Never happened.
You wasn't on the board then.
Don't say the board because people think
You
you're
wasn't
talking
on the
president.
board then. I said 4 to 5 years ago. So I'm asking the board to consider installing, and maybe not now, but in the spring, there are some communities that have speed bumps, that they put the speed bumps down in the spring and are removable in the wintertime. Because there was a concern by this board that the speed bumps would damage the snow plows. Now, City of Chicago has speed bumps that are not removable, and it's indicated by signs. So if our public works people are plowing the snow, they should do it at a reduced speed when they come to those areas. If we put in permanent speed bumps, at reduced speeds when they come to those areas to plow. But I think that with our limited patrol and police that we have, and with the number of complaints that we have about running stop signs and speeding, I think we need to consider installing speed bumps at certain areas where we get those complaints. Dorchester I always get complaints about Dorchester, Greenwood, and that's why those stop signs were installed on Greenwood to reduce the speed, and other certain streets in the community. So I'd like for this board to consider between now and the spring to install speed bumps in those certain areas.
Well, I agree with that, Mayor.
recognized, Mayor?
I don't have a problem with that. Can we also try to look into some avenue of a grant or something to help us with this?
Yeah, one of the things, and I had a conversation with some parties last week in regards to grants, especially for the police department. Majority of our cars now are equipped with radar, right, Chief? Yes. Okay, but we don't have the manpower with the number of calls that we have to just designate police officers to do speed. But it is a concern, and we need to address it. And I thought by installing some speed bumps and then try to get, not grants for equipment, we've got the equipment, we need to get grants for personnel. When President Clinton was in, there was, you recall the grant, Chief, that for hiring personnel, additional police officers, but they since, but it's since been rescinded. But we need to figure out a way to generate more revenue to have more police officers on the street because speed contributes to accidents and injuries, and we have our share of accidents on Greenwood and Sibley.
Can I be recognized, Mayor?
Go ahead, Trustee.
Okay, thank you for bringing this up. Myself and Chief Collins have been working on this for some time now. We actually have a company that does these temporary speed bumps that you're referring to. They are dark, they're black hard rubber with yellow stripes, and they're seasonal, meaning that the public works can mount those inside the asphalt and then bring them up just before wintertime. And I think they run approximately, what, $600 a pop? Chief, do you remember what the cost was?
600 and more.
Yeah, so they're around $600. The point is, we know how much it would cost, but then it's a matter now of trying to come up with a system. What particular streets do we give attention to? I don't know if we want to work with the engineering, Mr. Smith, to figure out, like you say, what streets they're doing a lot of speeding on. We just go by the complaints that we get, but for those who don't complain, we don't know. So we do have a company in mind. We know the cost. And I'm sure there's some type of discounts that you get if you get them in large volume, and we can only buy a few anyway. So if this board wouldn't mind, we can continue to follow up on the company. I believe I talked to the chief, I think it was at our last police and fire committee meeting. We can bring that to the board at the next meeting with a price, and then just come up with a system of what streets that have more priority than others and what the cost would be.
I wouldn't suggest bringing in an engineering company that would bill us for that. The police have all the speed equipment. They can monitor it. Once we get the complaints, it goes to the police department.
I agree.
And they can monitor the speed there. And I know when we had enhanced enforcement in some of those areas, like for stop signs, the police For example, it was that California Greenwood issued how many tickets, Chief, in what, 3 hours?
At the end of the day, I think we issued upwards of 45, 46 tickets.
At one particular intersection, they constantly run the stop signs, so we can do the same on streets that's been identified where we have a problem with speed.
I agree.
Mayor, could I be recognized?
Go ahead.
Yeah, we did discuss the speed bumps at the last Police and Fire Committee meeting, which was held about 2 weeks ago. And we also addressed with the chief the possibility of hiring 7 part-time police officers, which we will be addressing as an item on the agenda at the next Police and Fire Committee meeting to be held in December. And we think that we could accomplish that just by the citations and tickets that they write that won't increase the budget, but will cover the salaries of the officers and give the visibility that the chief needs on the streets. So we talked about that, but we will be addressing that at the next Police and Fire Committee meeting.
Okay.
Mayor, may I be recognized?
Go ahead.
I'm all in favor of the speed bumps. I just would like to know whose budget is it coming out of?
If I could respond to that, Mayor.
Go ahead.
It would generally come out of the streets and, I was gonna say streets and sand, public works, but there are certain monies that we can actually have allocated from the water fund because it relates to the streets. So it might be able to be taken out of that, but we have to talk with the attorney to see if that's a intertransfer can be done because it's related to the sewers and the streets, and any repairs that deals with the water is dealing with the water fund. It's just a thought. We got to talk with the attorney, but that's just a thought.
Okay, next thing on the agenda is revision of the sexual harassment policy. Madam Clerk, you want to talk about this?
Yes, very briefly. That's the goal. Earlier this year, the board passed a revised sexual harassment policy pursuant to the state law mandate. The legislature has amended that state law mandate, and the trustees have a memo from Attorney Coleman from Mr. Murphy's office. The amendment expands the time to 300 days for, and this would apply to village employees, to file sexual harassment and retaliation complaints with the Illinois Department of Human Rights. As our policy currently reads, is 180 days, so in order to be compliant with the new state law, the attorney has prepared and will submit at the next board meeting on December 3rd a revised sexual harassment policy, which will simply make that change, increasing the time for an employee to file a complaint with the state from 180 to 300 days.
Okay, and this is it's a mandatory revision.
Correct.
Okay. Any discussion on this? We get consensus on we have to vote on this, correct?
At the next board meeting.
Okay.
It's just a heads up to everyone.
Okay. All right. Next thing on the agenda, increase of court adjudication fees by Chief Collins.
Thank you, Mayor, Madam Clerk, trustees, and residents. Just to give a real quick history on what this is arising from, last board meeting brought forth the need for new software for our adjudication and court system, which will be at end of life next year and will no longer be serviceable or repaired or replaced. So the board voted, thank you for voting on that, voted to replace our software by a company called DACRA. One of the things that we have to do is figure out how to pay for things. The initial installation and cost of the software we can pay for out of our asset forfeiture, which won't cost the residents a single dime. Asset forfeiture is just for that to improve services back into the police department so we can reduce the burden on the taxpayer. But the other thing that we also have to do is we do have a local court system which fees do continue to rise. We have to pay the hearing officers, We have to, people who go there to run the court are employees of the village who also get raises from time to time per contract. So court costs from time to time need to be addressed and raised so that we can cover the operating expenses of the court. So what I would like the board to take a look at is increasing the local court fees. So those of you that don't have the synopsis in front of you, I will read the synopsis so that we're all understanding what I'm bringing forward here. The Village of Dolton must continually reevaluate its systems and procedures in order to stay current and also meet its financial obligations in addition to reducing the financial burden on the taxpayers. The village currently assigns court fees to violators found liable of local ordinance offenses. These fees help to offset the costs associated with local court operations and the systems that manage and support those operations. Currently, the court fee is $25. As other municipalities have increased fees to keep current with rising costs, Dolton has not. The fiscal impact. As costs associated with enforcement rises, the village needs to meet this action by increasing court fees from time to time. If the village does not take this type of action, then the law-abiding taxpayers will continue to bear the burden of paying costs associated and created by the violators. I'm recommending that the village increase court fees from $25 to $50. Court fees are intended to cover costs of operating a local court system.
Mayor, could I be recognized?
Go ahead.
This item was on the agenda at the last Police and Fire Committee meeting, and the Police and Fire Committee moved to take it to the COW. We had 3 yes votes, and I'm in agreement. I would like the board to approve the increase.
I agree. I know it's a consensus tonight. Do we have to bring it back to the board on the 3rd, Madam
Yes.
Clerk?
Yes, trustee, anytime the board increases fees, it has to be done by ordinance.
Consensus, I agree.
I agree.
Have any questions I can answer?
Real quick for the public, and you did answer that, our Police and Fire Committee. The $25 to $50, I was asking, is it commensurate with the outlying areas? And you still said 50 is still pretty low compared to other municipalities?
Compared to some other municipalities, I found the range anywhere between 25, Dolton, one of the lowest, and $150, depending on the suburb. 50 doesn't make it so high that it's not affordable, but it also sets the tone to violators, and it helps to offset the cost so that the taxpayers don't have to keep bearing the burden of the violators.
What are those violations? What that individual who would be liable for this fine? What are some of those violations?
So our local court, this also goes to code enforcement. So code enforcement violations, parking tickets, the village sticker tickets, the loud music tickets, anything that falls within the village ordinance rules and regs.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Chief.
Yes, sir.
Okay, next thing on the agenda is hiring of firefighters. Chief Dyer.
Good evening, Mayor, Madam Clerk, trustees, residents. Can we put the next two together, the hiring of the fireman and the
I agree.
engineer?
Go ahead.
Doing both at the same time?
Yeah.
So tonight, we would like to talk about, we had this meeting the other day, the committee of the whole, about the police and fire hiring 3 firefighters off the current list, and also the promotion of 2 firefighters off the current list to fire engineer. And let me give you a little synopsis. You do have it in front of you. We emailed it out to you also. The Dolton Fire Department would like to move forward to hire 3 firefighters off the current firefighters eligibility list on December the 3rd executive meeting. The hiring of the 3 firefighters will fill the 3 vacancies that were created June 10th for a line of duty death, November 1st retirement, and November 15th a pending line of duty injury. With the recent retirement of Lieutenant Mike Marino and a pending employee D line of duty disability, the Dolton Fire Department budget will be a surplus of $176,746. The surplus will cover the salaries of 3 firefighters, new firefighters, with $37,000 remaining as available funds in the fire department budget towards the personnel costs. So having said that, if you flip the page over, you can see that 3 employees, the salaries for each employee, the base salary would be $46,410, combined $139,000. We also have Lieutenant Marino's retirement, which was $89,000. His base salary was $89,000, and our pending line of duty injury is a pending $86,000, which combined would be $176,746, which would give us a surplus of $37,000 by hiring the 3. Well, right now we already hired 1. You gave us a consent to hire 1. He's gone through the process. He's had his background checked, the physical, everything, and we'd like to hire him on the first board meeting in January. I believe it'll be January 7th. So really, we only need 2 more to give us a number of 21. You also have a sheet of paper in front of you letting you know how many people, how many members we have with us currently, and that number is 18 with this line of duty injury pending. It's a sheet of paper that has everybody's name on it. So with the 1 that we add in January, that put us at 19. Our goal is to make it to 21, which would give us 7 members on each shift, which would cut down the overtime. Having said that, the promotion of the 2 engineers, they're already on the engineers list. They've already been tested. They've already passed. We just need, it's just mainly a formality, okay to promote them at the next meeting on December 3rd.
Promote them or hire them?
Promote the 2 engineers.
Okay.
They're already currently on the list. The 2016 list, November 15, 2016. They took the test, so they've been on that list since 2016. They're the last 2, and you also have a copy of that too. Number 4 and number 5.
And how does this affect the budget, Chief Dyer?
Well, with those numbers I gave you, let me look at them again. With the retirement and the line of duty disability, we're at 176 surplus because they're already in the budget. With the 3 new hires, we're at 139. And with the hiring of the 2 engineers, that's only $12,000 for the both of them, which would leave us still at a surplus of $24,000. With the 2, with the retirement and the line of duty injury, we'll still be in a surplus of $24,000 in the budget for those 2 members because they were at such a high rate. 1 retired and 1, line of duty injury. He's been injured since September of 17, and he's not coming back. So we like to get in front of that, have 7 guys on each shift that would try to, cut down some of the overtime. It would cut some of the overtime down tremendously, and it's already in the budget.
You looking for a consensus vote tonight to bring to the December 3rd meeting?
I'm looking for something that says, go ahead and get those guys started with the next phase.
Mayor, could I be recognized, sir?
I think we can get a consensus tonight. I know you have mine, so I'll just tell you yes for me.
I'd just like to let the residents know this was also at the Police and Fire Committee meeting. We did discuss this. We did move, have 3 yes votes to move this forward to today's COW meeting. It does not increase the budget. It's just moving dollars around. So I give my okay, and I hope that the board would approve this after they get any questions that they have answered. But this is good for the village because it will keep firefighters from having to work a lot of overtime. 1, at a high cost, but 2, sometimes they just work so many days in a row that they can get injured, fatigued. I think we had a firefighter work 6 days in a row, and 6 days, just so everybody know what that is, that's 6 24-hour days in a row. And so when you go out on a call, your body, it just gets fatigued and you could have injuries. But it's going to save overtime. Sometimes you might have firefighters, those 6 days are not cheap. They could be at $57 an hour for 24 hours times 6. So this is moving dollars around, and it's long overdue. So I would hope that the board would give their consensus.
So there's two different things, though.
Oh, yes, and
the first thing is
promotions.
The promotion is just a formality, if I understand it correctly.
Yes,
We
it
just want
is.
to make sure that on the 3rd of December, it would be okay to bring them and their families down for the swearing in.
You have my okay.
It's just a formality because they're already on the list and they've already been
Yes.
in the budget. So that would be okay? Okay. And the other one is the hiring of, we already hired the one, he should be getting ready to be processed or hired January 7th, whenever the first board meeting is, and we want to go down the list and grab the next two. And you also have a list, or the final list of the next
Yes.
two people we want to hire, and we're going in that order.
Mayor, might be recognized?
Go ahead.
And as long as we have a surplus of 24%,
24,000.
24,000, then I don't see a problem with it. And like trustee has said, and you had stated, we're just moving monies around.
Right.
So I'm all in favor of it.
Because the problem was, at one time, we weren't replacing people as they left, but now we're gonna stay on top of it and make sure we replace people as they leave or retire or whatever
I do
the
have
case is.
one more question for you.
Okay.
Union-wise, your numbers, are you at your numbers? Will you be?
We should be at 24. Our real number should be at 24, and we're working on that.
We're taking
We know-
baby steps.
Right, we know that the budget and the monies aren't there yet, but we're working on the 24, but we'd like to have at least 21. And like trustee said, baby steps, but 24 would be our bottom number. And it should always, once we get to 24, we should never fall behind or below 24, I should say,
Thank you.
once we get there. And we will get there.
Chief, when do the lists open up or people can take the test? How does that work?
Well, I don't know when the next test will be, but if you look on the list, it has an expiration date. It expires in 2019.
Yeah.
So does that mean a new test don't come until then?
Right.
Is that how that work?
Right. This list will stay up until 2019.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
I
Thank you,
agree on
Chief.
both.
Thanks, Chief.
Did we have a consensus from everybody? Yeah. Okay.
Smile, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Our next thing on the agenda is, okay. Which one is it?
Number 11.
Status of Firehouse Number 2, Trustee Pearson.
Mayor, I was just wondering, when are we going to open up Fire Station 2? I know you talked about it at the last board meeting and said that you had been talking with the chief, but do you have a date that, or a time frame when you plan on reopening Fire Station 2?
With the people I'm talking about to make the repairs, at a great reduction to the village costs and on no cost on a donation basis, probably at the end of January.
When did he say? When?
60 days. Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear. What?
I said probably at the end of January.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you.
All right. Next thing on the agenda, status of Melanie Fitness Center, Trustee Pearson.
Okay, I just wanted the board to talk tonight about Melanie Fitness Center. I know that we talked about a broker, and we talked about selling Melanie Fitness. And my concern is that we are not moving fast enough on making decisions. I think it's an injustice to the members down there to keep taking their dues and not having everything working. And I also think that we can't continue to sit up as a board and talk about repairing items down there and spending money that we don't have because we don't want to make the tough decision of whether to close it or not. The board talked about closing it. They talked about a broker, but the members are suffering down there, and the repairs is actually money that don't belong to us. When we went to court, they talked about, the city of Chicago talked about, why are you subsidizing your fitness center with our money? And that's how they look at it. They say that's money that belongs to them, that we don't have, and that we could be paying them the money that we spend to keep that place open. So I think as a board, each board member should make a decision as to where they stand, and then we should move on that decision quickly, because in my opinion, we can't keep spending taxpayers' money, Chicago's money, to subsidize Melanie Fitness. It is losing money, and I am not afraid to say that it should not. If it's losing money, that means we're poor managers of that fitness center. And so we should make the decision to close the fitness center. Or if we're going to keep it open, we got to make that decision and say, hey, let's fix everything down there, because we're taking members' money and it's not fair to the members. And I know the members don't want to hear that it needs to close, but keep in mind, I look at it as taxpayer dollars. And every month is $9,000, $10,000, $12,000. And the money, the interest that we're paying Chicago is huge. It's huge, and I gave out the report at the last board meeting so that people could see that, it's millions of dollars worth of interest that we're paying, and I would much rather see that $12,000 a month or $9,000, whatever it is, go to pay some of this debt down so that we can save some money. And we just can't keep sitting here saying, oh, let's paint the pool. Oh, let's do this. Let's get this going. Let's get that going. Either we need to fix it or we need to close it. And we need to make a decision. Each board member should decide what they're going to do by the next board meeting, I think, because it's just an injustice to the members. And Mayor, that's all I have on that.
Can I be recognized, Mayor?
Go ahead.
I communicated with Mr. Fields today, and he's still waiting on proposals, and he gave deadlines to those possible vendors till the end of, I think it's the end of this week, right after the Thanksgiving holiday. And I think a suggestion by one of the trustees, if you don't get any other vendors, then let's deal with the one. I don't agree that we should just deal with one vendor. We should try to get at least 3 proposals, go with either the lowest or the mid, and then see if it's advantageous to us to get those repairs done. It's not a lot of repairs that need to be done as far as the county inspector is concerned, because I talked to her. It's just a matter of us doing it, and then again, it's the decision of the board. I think that we should wait for the other proposals, and I think that there is a potential for that gym to do well, but I don't think that the village should be in the business of managing a fitness center that, as I had voted before, and I still vote that we sell it. We have a prospective buyer who may be getting cold now because of us stretching this out, but I don't think that we're in the business of a fitness center, and it should be so. We have a prospective buyer, and let's get the basic repairs done and sell it.
Okay, I
Mayor,
think.
may I be recognized, please?
Go ahead.
I just want to ask the question, what happened to the broker? Did anybody get any information on the broker?
I did do follow-up on a broker. I actually reached out to 6 different brokers, most of which are, well, we did get one request or one proposal out from a broker that seemed pretty confident that based on the appraisal we had before, he would be able to sell it. The other 5 said that they were lightly interested, but they don't do as much commercial. So the one broker that did send the proposal has more experience in commercial real estate. So we do have a proposal for the board to review.
Was the broker asking for his fee up front or at the back end?
He was asking for his fee upon the selling of the facility. Yes, sir.
And how much?
It was it was between 8 to 10%. I don't remember the exact number at the time.
And there was an appraisal done, correct?
There was an appraisal. I don't want to lose any negotiating ability by saying what the appraisal amount was, but maybe I should. It appraised that, no, I'll leave it at that.
But the appraisal was substantially more than the offer that was presented to this board some while back, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right, next thing on the agenda is citizens' address. I ask that you limit it to 3 minutes. Maybe we can get out of here shortly.
Good evening, Mayor, Clerk, and trustees, residents. Just a comment about the Melanie Fitness Center. Dolton doesn't have many assets, and from the folks that have come out in the past and talked about how they enjoy going to the Melanie Fitness for whatever reasons they do, I would hope that you consider that in your decision to try to preserve it. If the decision is to sell, I would suggest not to sell it at a fire sale and get as much as we possibly can, because it is an asset, and whomever decides to buy it can use it to make a profit, I'm sure. And the other comment that I had, it goes back to whatever processes we have in Public Works. It sounds to me what I was hearing, that we don't have anything defined as what to do when we want to report a tree trimming. I don't know the process because I've never had to do that, thank God. But I think that at the committee meeting that was suggested on the 29th, is that a conflict with the police and fire meeting, that date? Because isn't that usually the last Thursday of the month?
Project Connect is last Thursday.
That's Project Connect.
So is that third Thursday or fourth Thursday?
Well,
Is
it's
that-
closed for 2 months.
December.
Okay. See,
It
I'm out
might
of
be
the-
back to maybe January or February, weather dependent. It's supposed to come back January, but there's no November meeting or December meeting.
Okay, and it's the third Thursday.
Yes.
Okay, we have a
No.
lot of meetings.
Is that the last Thursday?
What is it, the 4th?
Yes, it's the
Chief?
4th.
The last
Yes, last.
Thursday. And then there's a finance meeting on the Wednesday before the 28th, is that right? Trustee Muhammad? The finance meeting, is that on the 28th?
Yes, it will be the 28th of this month.
Okay, and
which is
29th.
right after the Thanksgiving holiday, yes.
Okay. So we'll be able to discuss those type of processes at the 29th meeting. Okay, that's all I have, thank you.
Okay, if, can I get a motion to adjourn if this, oh.
Good evening, Mayor, Madam Clerk, trustees, and most important, the residents. Just like to speak on the Melanie Center. I'm not at liberty to throw the park district out there, but if it was some way possible, I think we talked about it before a while ago, if some of the couple of the commissioners of the Dolton Park probably can get together with a couple of you guys and try and do it in the government agreement, or if the park can work on some type of grants to hold Melanie's down. I don't know how much time we have for that, but I just hate to see Melanie just get away, because that's one of the top honors to have a park district that has a swimming pool. You know, so if we can do some type of sit down and see if we can save
I'm
it.
open. I am definitely open to
Okay.
any ideas.
Okay, so if we can, I go
I'm
back
open for that too,
to the commissioners,
Commissioner.
and I like to sit down with them and see if we can save the Melanie Center in the government agreement, or if we can, like I say, we can do some type of grants and keep Melanie up and running.
I'm open.
You open for that, Mayor?
I'm open for it.
Good man, good man.
You ready to write us a check out of your personal checkbook?
Okay, and also I'd just like to speak on the team that cares. Alice Keys, Bobby Stewart, Robert Hunt, Stan Brown. we ask that you come out and meet the team. We're going to have snacks, music, and fun. We'll be giving out winter coats, book bags, and also holiday food baskets. Time will be 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Saturday, my birthday, December the 1st. I thought that'd be a good day to give on my birthday, and I thank the team for doing that. We will be giving out coat sizes 3T to size 16. Children must be present, first come, first serve. You must be a Dolton resident, bring ID. Bring a kid, get a coat. We'll be at 802 Sibley Boulevard in Dolton. That's at 147 Cottage Grove. That will be December the 1st, between hours of 10 and 1, and we'll be giving out coats till they're all gone. I believe we have almost 200 coats.
Real quick.
We have about 200 coats, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to give them out until they're all gone. We have ample amount of food holiday baskets to give out, and we just figure, you know, we're almost in mid-season of school time, so we just want to refurbish the youngsters with book bags. All the supplies and everything is in there. So the team that cares asks that you come out. This will be for Dolton residents only. Bring a kid, get a coat, food baskets, book bags. So I really would like if we can get together on that Melody Center. I'm pretty sure that we're going to do whatever we need to do to keep Melody here in the village of Dolton.
Okay, we're not under any time restraints. We can definitely get together and talk after the Thanksgiving holiday, sir.
Commissioner, you have a number to give just in case people can't make it to the office. They can call in and reserve their coat.
No reserve. You gotta come out, bring a kid, get a coat. Not holding anything. First come, first serve. We got over 200 coats for boys and girls.
3 minutes.
Good evening. My first comment or concern would be Mayor and the trustees, administrators, residents. There was a report about the south suburbs, and Dolton was a topic of that report. There were some comments made, statuses reported. I'm sure everybody is aware of it. Very discouraging, but on point. We know about our systems of government. We know about our foreclosure rate. We know about individuals trying to purchase their property back. And there's a couple of individuals in our audience who were spokespersons for that. Thank you. There were some statements made about our crime. There were statements made about the conditions of our finances. There were statements made, and they even ran it on Channel 7, on the news, on the radio. I'm saying, Lord, have mercy. Okay, so it's a real deal. My next question is that I'm asking the trustees, Trustee Mohammed, the Finance Committee, do we have monies to take us through the end of November for the village of Dolton to pay its bills?
The short answer is yes.
We do.
But we're in a dire situation. The article is very accurate. And just as we have said in the finance meetings and all these meetings where you had all these theatrics, the numbers, you know, are the numbers. You can fudge numbers, but these numbers are not fudged. There's no hyperbole in these numbers. It doesn't look good for the village of Dolton on a financial basis, and you can't tax the resident to keep taxing them to get that revenue. There are other means that we have to look at in order to secure revenue. I mean, if you look at my tax, I always use me as an example. I pay $4,900 a year on my taxes on a small tri-level home on a corner, and we pay the highest rate in the Southland. We pay more on our taxes than the North Shore. So it's a dire situation, and we have to come up with some solutions of revenue.
May I ask a question? May I ask all of my questions and then you guys answer because somebody will be telling me my 3 minutes is up. What will be the increase per home, and are you able to answer that, for the over 5% increase to the taxpayers or homeowners on fixed incomes? And then my second would be, what is the problem with everybody working together? I have a problem with that. I know you, Chief. I'm sorry. But I have a problem with everybody not working together. You are all elected officials, are you not? It is so discouraging for me to hear you guys not wanting to work together. A question asked, an answer given. Every one of you are elected. No one, as I understand a board, has no more power than the next person. It stands as an individual. You have none. But collectively, you have more. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Am I misunderstanding something?
Nope.
So pardon me?
I said, nope, you understand it.
Okay, because I have a problem with this thing about you all not wanting to work together. Thank you, Chief. And you know what? There's a petition going in my neighborhood. The petition is that there is no reason, my neighbors find it no reason that Channel 4 or 99 needs to be blank.
I agree.
Because in the past, before we had a Edward, before we had someone 365 days, we had that individual come and record the meetings, and the things, the services that the village offered were on the website. Why can we not do that again? Why are we being held hostage is what my neighbors are asking me. Why are they being held hostage? Because we say we don't have a media person. And I want to know, okay, one more question, I do. Mayor, will there be a tree lighting ceremony? I've been contacted by the band director to know if will be a tree lighting ceremony.
Madam Clerk, we discussed this. Okay, nothing's been put out. Public Works is ready. Matt, we can have it, okay, we will. It's typically done this coming Saturday.
I know, that's why he called.
Yeah, we'll do it.
There will be, so you'll
Yes.
expect the band to be out? Do
You know, we
want
haven't
them-
made any arrangements. You want to make that arrangement?
Well, yeah, he called to ask me today if there would be a tree lighting
Okay,
ceremony.
Ms. Creighton, if you could take charge of that, we
Two
appreciate
of
it.
your questions I can answer, Ms. Creighton, too. One, you asked about how it would affect the taxpayer. I talked to Vince Kinkard today, this morning, and he will be here December, or either on that 13th. I think we chose December 10th, and he'll break down exactly how it affects every taxpayer with this levy that we're talking about. And I asked him to use me as an example, and I used the $4,900. Mine will increase about 2%, which is about $135, something to that effect. Number two, on Channel 499, it does not have to be down. As I mentioned earlier, there's a system we have called Lightronics that you can programming that you see on Channel 499. It was shut down for whatever reason, but it can be remotely controlled. It can also be controlled downstairs to be programmed for a year, 2 years, 5 years, 3 months, or whatever. So you don't need a person there physically to have the programming on 499. That was a choice made by someone to shut it down, but it doesn't have to be.
Ms. Creighton, I'm going to say something in regards to that article. That article was not totally accurate. There was a lot of good things that they had discovered here in Dolton, and they didn't put it in the paper. And why they choose not to put it in the papers is beyond me. But in regards to crime, crime has increased in every one of these communities in the south suburbs. I don't think crime has increased to the amount that they mentioned in that article. We got a good police department. We have some police, new police, some young police officers now that are making those traffic stops, that are getting guns off the street. Our Cook County has been in this community making arrests and traffic stops, but don't think, you know, people always bring up, well, South Holland and other communities, they have their share of crime too. It's just that some people would like to identify it more and echo it more in the village of Dolton, which puts a bad light on us, you know. Instead of putting so many negative things out there about Dolton, we do a lot of positive things too. So, and reporters write articles to sell newspapers and get notoriety. There's a lot of other communities in the south suburbs that are suffering the same things that we suffer. But for some reason, they like to target Dolton. And it's not just this administration, it was previous administrations. You know, and I've talked to reporters, and they say, you know, we always kept our radio on Dolton. They didn't mind the police traffic from these other communities. For whatever reason that someone wants to continue to give us a black eye, it hurts the community. All right, Mr. Moore.
One last comment. The amount of overtime was it for the fire department?
Yeah, and Ms. Creighton, I want to bring up something too. You know, you asked, well, why can't we work together? Yes. I remember some of those tumultuous years where there was a Creighton on the school board, and there was a lot of chaos and a lot of people not working together. You know, so don't just think it's this board, but you know, so.
Mr. Creighton, from his hospital bed, called in the state's attorney because of the disruption and the unagreeableness that was going on, because it was not beneficial for the individuals that he represented. That's why he is where he is today. Because I'm not saying it's just here. I know it's everywhere. But my thing is that let's move past that. Are we big enough to move forward? That's all I'm saying. Are we big enough to move forward? Referendums didn't pass. Are we big enough to move forward? That's all I want.
It's the people speaking, you know, it's the democratic process. All right, Mr. Bowens.
Yes, thank you. Mayor, trustees, residents. Earlier in the conversation, Trustee Hinyard was talking about plan. There is no plan. Proverbs 29:18 says, where there is no vision, the people will perish. My question is simply, what is the vision to move Dolton forward? And can any of you communicate that to us as residents so that we can all be on the same page? Because here's the thing. As long as we're not on the same page, if the vision as the mayor of this town is not communicated to the board and then to us as residents, we cannot help you. We cannot move forward. It's been enough fighting going back and forth. That it is, you know, it hasn't got anybody anywhere. So, and we're still in this position. So I'm asking, I want a specific answer. I don't want to be deflected. I don't want to be reminded of what was done in the past. I just want a clear-cut answer. What is the vision for Dolton moving forward, and how are we going to get there? What is the plan? Because you have to have a plan, but you can't plan anything if you don't have a vision of where you're going. We need to know that so that we can support that. Because if the plan includes us getting out of debt, I don't think anybody is going to be opposed to that. If the plan includes our representation not making us look like a fool when people look at us on TV, I don't think anybody is going to have a problem with that. I just need to know what is the vision of where we're supposed to go based on where we are now. And how are we going to get there, and what can we do to help that vision come to fruition? That's it. Anybody can answer.
Mr. Bourne, good evening.
Good evening. How you doing?
First of all, you have to have communication.
Okay.
Without communication, there is no plan. So I am willing to talk to everybody that sits on this board. We all are. And this is about all of us, not one of us.
Absolutely.
All of us were elected, and you have to sit down and have dialogue, and it's about all of our ideas, not just one person's idea. All of us should be able to have an input in what go on in our village, along with the residents.
I agree.
So that's the first key.
Communication.
Communication.
Okay. All right.
Can I? Mr.
Yeah,
Bowman?
absolutely.
After communication, you mentioned the word plan. What's missing is a comprehensive plan. There is an official documentation that's called a comprehensive plan for the village of Dolton that has not been adhered to. It can be done if we come together as a group. And like the trustee said, it starts with communication. You have to be able to talk to one another, whether it be through a phone call, whether it be through an email, you have to start it. The only challenge that we have in doing that is the number of people that can meet at one time. You can do 2 at a time, do another 2, but it has to start first with the communication, and after the communication, have a comprehensive plan that you just mentioned, and eliminating that debt. The debt is a big issue for us.
Absolutely.
The debt is an issue because we don't generate enough revenue that we increase the debt every year, at least for the last 5 years. I'll speak for that. My association with this village has been for the last 5 years. Without a comprehensive plan and without us communicating, it becomes a political battle every time. We have to come together as a people first. But sometimes you just quoted the Bible and you said something about our people would perish from the lack of knowledge, but sometimes people are comfortable in the lie. You give them the truth, they're very uncomfortable about the truth because it's coming from you. And then you get a thing called cognitive dissonance, when they'll hear the truth, but then they'll go off to something else, but you haven't addressed the truth that's being put before you. Before us right now is that you bringing in $18 million, you can't spend $21 million. We have to look at that as a group, come up with a comprehensive plan to help our village come together, not on no personal level.
I agree.
And the only thing that I want to add is, see, I look at the referendum questions a little different. I knocked on a lot of doors, I talked to a lot of people, and what I heard is that they want change. They want us to get along. They didn't like anybody. It wasn't people saying, I love the mayor and I hate you trustees, or I love you trustees and I hate the mayor. It was a lot of both. And so I took away something different. I took away that we really have to start working together. And if we don't start working together, the village will perish. There's no way that any one person can take this village forward. It takes us all, and not just the mayor and the trustees, it takes the community. And
Yes.
so what needs to happen is we need to not just have board meetings, we need to sit together and have town hall meetings so that people can say what they want to say. People can get things off their chest. People can tell us how they want us to vote and what they would like to have in their community. And if we don't start to do that, then we're going to continue to argue and have the problems that we have.
All right, I agree.
I'm just going to, okay, thank you, Mr. Vaughn.
I was waiting to hear from you, man.
Come on into my office. I should explain my whole vision to you. I can't do it tonight.
Okay, not a problem.
Okay, I just want to say that we're quickly approaching an election. The referendum did not pass for the nonpartisan election in April, so we will have a primary, especially after today. There were 7 people that filed to run for trustee. So that would go, there's Democrats. So that means we will have a primary. And there's 3 trustee positions that will be open for the board as of today, right? Also, I want to mention the fact that for the 3rd year, we gave away 1,100 turkeys on Saturday. And the line was just as long as it was in years before. It certainly shows a need of people that need turkey, that need food. Today we took another 80 turkeys over to our senior, our Savior Senior Building. So we were happy to, with donations from private vendors, and trustee House and our clerk, Mary Kay Dugan, was part of the finances that we're able to make sure that we were able to feed some of our residents. Okay, I'd like to get a motion to adjourn. Go ahead.
Go to the mic.
I just thought it was real interesting for you to come back and talk about turkeys when I asked you for a specific question on your vision, but you couldn't talk about the vision tonight, but you talking about turkey giveaways. If you had enough time to talk about the turkeys, you should have had enough time at least to tell us about the vision since I was talking to you as a mayor. But it's okay. I just wanted to point that out because I thought that was real rude.
Okay.
I
And
just
you're
did.
entitled to your
Yeah,
opinion.
and that's why I just said I just
And
wanted to make a
and
comment.
you're entitled to your opinion, but let me tell you something. If you want me to give you my vision for the village of Dolton in 5 minutes, it wouldn't be the right vision. We're not going. You got a problem. Yeah, but you got a problem with mentioning the fact that we've fed over 1,000 people.
No, I don't have a problem with that. The problem is you came back to say that right after I asked you a question that you did not answer.
And I gave you an answer. I said, just come sit down with me. I'll give you my vision, but we ain't gonna give you.
It's about all of us. It's about all our visions, not just one person. It's about all of our visions.
I cannot describe.
That's what we've been saying.
I cannot describe my.
It's about all of our visions because we have been living in this town for umpteen years. This is not about just you. It's about all of us and what all of us would like to see in the village.
If you expect a 5-minute vision, it wouldn't be accurately describe where I'd like for this village to go.
It's not I, it's all of us. You keep saying I.
Exactly.
That's the problem. It's always I.
Did you hear what he just asked me? He said, "You, Mayor."
That's it.
All of us.
Okay.
Everybody else answered me.
All right.
They gave their opinions, man.
Everybody didn't answer you here.
Most of the trustees, but when I asked you directly, I was just, I'm not.
You know, Mr. Bowens, Mr. Bowens.
I'm not attacking.
Okay.
I'm just asking you a
Okay.
simple question. You're
I don't have.
this time.
I don't have a 5-minute vision for
And
you.
then you're right. You shouldn't have a 5-minute vision.
Thank you.
But what I was saying was, if you had 5 minutes to talk about turkeys, you could have took 5 minutes.
I took 5 minutes to talk about turkeys. I took 5 minutes to talk about turkeys.
That's right.
I'd like to get a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
And I agree with the young man.
Okay, it's been motion and second to adjourn. Roll call.
Trustee Muhammad?
Aye.
Trustee Stubbs?
Aye.
Trustee House?
Aye.
Trustee Denton?
Aye.
Trustee Pearson?
Aye.
Trustee Henyard?
Aye.